This week in Rob John's Lair, a place for good ideas for D&D and other tabletop role-playing games, we are going to be looking at number crunching. What I mean by this is analysing the mathematical probability of your attacks hitting, the damage they can cause, and using this data for optimum performance in battle. Then, of course, we're going to be debating whether this is a good idea or a bad idea. Because for many, including myself, sometimes, this has the potential to zap the fun out of combat, which is never something a D&D table needs. So, without further ado, let me boot up my spreadsheet and I'll start to explain what we're going to be doing. But while I'm doing that, I would like you to meet the ferocious barbarian named Tim. He's a level 4 dwarf that I've created just for this exercise. I'll overlay his basic stats somewhere here on the screen. We're going to be looking at Tim's attacks, his weapons, his features, and looking to build absolute combat optimization. Tim has 4 weapons. He's got a greataxe, a shortbow, and 2 short swords, and he is proficient in all of them. The first thing we'll do is look at his odds of hitting something. His melee attacks, which use strength, have a +5 attack bonus. His bow, which uses dexterity, has a +3. So already it's easy to see what his minimum, average and maximum attack rolls would be. Oh, by the way, if you want to work out things like the probability of dice rolled, just use ChatGPT or other AI things, because you can literally type in what you want and it'll even give you the formula to use in Excel. Just copy and paste it in. So far this doesn't really help us. Obviously the melee weapons are better. So for the next task I have taken 4 common enemies with incrementally more ACs to compare what the odds are of actually hitting them with each weapon. I chose a kobold, a direwolf, a bugbear and a hobgoblin, whose ACs are 12, 14, 16 and 18 respectively. Being able to see the odds of hitting each enemy type makes it easier to visualise what combat might actually be like. For instance, if Tim is swinging his greataxe against a hobgoblin, he's going to make a hit less than a third of the time, which isn't great. With that in mind, let's look at 2-weapon fighting. Like I said earlier, Tim has 2 short swords. So what happens if he grabs one in each hand and uses them both on the same turn, attacking with his offhand weapon as a bonus action? There are 2 ways you can look at this. Either the odds of at least one of the attacks hitting, in which case the odds go drastically up with a whopping 91% chance that the kobold will take a blow. Or you can look at the odds of them both hitting to deal more damage. Here you can see it's incredibly unlikely. Even the kobold has less than the 50% chance that both attacks will hit. Moving on then, let's look at damage for these 3 basic weapons. Here the stats speak for themselves. The greataxe wins hands down on a single attack. In fact, with the shortbow's decrease in attack roll and damage, it's hardly worth using at all, with only a 40% chance of hitting a bugbear and then dealing a maximum of 7 damage. That's not really a fight that I'd like to take on. The axe, on the other hand, hits 50% of the time, and even the average damage roll is much higher than the bow's maximum. What about dual wielding those short swords? Well, if both of them hit, then you're looking at 1d6 plus 3 for the first weapon and another 1d6 for the second. In total, a minimum of 5 and a max of 15. Pretty much the same as our greataxe. But don't forget, it has a much smaller chance of hitting. I mentioned earlier that Tim is a level 4, which means he gets to choose a feat at this level. Let's compare a few different ones to see how this affects his rolls. Starting with great weapon fighting. And by the way, I'm using the new 2024 rules for all of this. The feat states, when you roll damage for an attack you make with a 2-handed melee weapon, you can treat any 1 or 2 on the damage die as a 3. This is okay. Barely. What it actually means is the minimum you could roll shifts from a 4 to a 6. Everything else stays the same. Now don't get me wrong, it's better than nothing, but it's not really shifting those numbers like we want it to. Great Weapon Master does a few things, but notably here, it deals extra damage equal to your proficiency bonus. So with a proficiency at level 4 of 2, it effectively does the same as great weapon fighting, but it shifts all the numbers up by 2. And it goes up by more as your proficiency goes up. A much better option, with the maximum damage now at a lofty 17 for our trusty greataxe. Savage Attacker is next, where once per turn, roll the damage dice twice and use either roll. This sounds great, but it's not going to affect your maximum roll, but it does increase the average, which now becomes an 11.4. Much better than baseline, but as you can see, it's still not as good as Great Weapon Master. So of all the options, Great Weapon Master is our feat of choice for Tim. Especially when you see that he can also increase his strength by 1, and a critical attack now triggers Hue, meaning Tim can make another attack as a bonus action. Awesome! Lastly, let's just do a few more rows here to see what Tim's best attack could look like with all the other class and subclass options at his disposal. Going old school, I chose Path of the Berserker for Tim, and this gives him the Frenzy ability, which basically means if you use Reckless Attack while your Rage is active, you deal extra damage, and it's a number of d6s equal to your Rage damage bonus. So in Tim's case, 2. So at level 4, that's an extra 2d6 damage for the Frenzy, plus another 2 for the Rage itself, giving Tim a total of 1d12 plus 2d6 plus 5. Now he's doing a maximum of 29 damage in a single attack. Very tasty. But I nearly forgot that this doesn't include Great Weapon Master. In actual fact, that is a maximum of 31, and even his average damage is a whopping 20.5. That's very respectable at level 4. Let's leave it there. We could go on looking at extra attacks, different feats and things as Tim levels up, but you get the idea. The question now is all this number crunching a good thing? Some may say that it's metagaming, or at least taking some of the chaotic fun out of combat. Fighting should not be about averages or the odds of winning. It should be about embracing the chaos and punching above your abilities for that chance of eternal glory when that chance blow comes off. On the other hand, you could see the knowledge of your character's abilities as a key part of who your character actually is. A seasoned battlefield general might know exactly what the odds of hitting a goblin with a crossbow might be. It might even affect every decision that character makes. For me, there's a balance. I'm never going to do maths at the table, but knowing that the odds of hitting a guard in plate armour are incredibly slim and causing your character to pivot and perhaps change tactics, well, that's just what I would call good plain tactics. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a debate on this. Should you crunch the numbers or should you embrace the chaos? Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please subscribe and help me boost that subscriber average. See what I did there? You've got to crunch those numbers. Till next time, bye.